because I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and I just did it. Then I just did it. I know it's not easy because as an adult, we understand more and we think about consequences and we want to know what the risks are. But if that's stopping you and literally freezing you in place and preventing you from taking that next step and going to that next level, when I look back now at my childhood growing up in Detroit, Michigan, I think about how carefree those times were. My neighborhood was a well to do neighborhood. Everyone was pretty well off, it was solidly middle class. And to be a kid was easy. Now, I realize that not everyone grows up like that, and some people have more difficult, more challenging childhoods. But I think in general, most people would agree that compared to adulthood, childhood is relatively carefree. And eventually, of course, we all grow up and we become adults and we take on responsibilities and we have obligations and we have to make decisions. We have to figure out what we want to do with our lives, which directions we want to go. And a lot of times, those decisions don't only affect us, they affect other people. And so that complicates the decision process in many cases. And I know a lot of people struggle with analysis paralysis. And that's just having too much information, too many options, and not really being able to decide what to do because there is no clarity. I want to give you a counterpoint to analysis paralysis today. And it's based on what I recall from childhood. Before we get into that, let me just say that I'm Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, and we are bringing you a fit and flourishing future. I am also the youngest son of Bill Johnson. Now, I want you to go to www.bouncepep.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. You will see a box where you can enter your email address and subscribe to our email list, and that'll keep you in the loop. We're not going to be sending you a bunch of spam and a bunch of useless information. But if you want to be in the loop, go ahead and sign up. So I want you to think back to when you were a child. And I'm talking about when you were really young, like 4 or 5 years old, maybe. At that age where you were really having your first memories. So go way back to that time and think about how you would do things with no awareness, really no perception of the danger of it. But you would do it because you just wanted to do it. So you didn't have any preconceived idea about how easy or how difficult it would be, or about how safe or how dangerous it would be. It was just something that you wanted to do, and so you would do it. And you probably had a parent or somebody looking out for you who would point out to you, hey, you shouldn't do it that way, or you shouldn't do it at all. Or they would give you some kind of guidance as to what you should be doing. But before that person said anything to you, you were just oblivious. And I want to talk to you today about a state of oblivion because that is something that we have as a child and we lose as adults for good reasons, of course. As adults, we are wiser about the world, we understand more, we have more information, and we understand consequences better than a small child would. But oblivion does have its place. Think about the last time you went out to a restaurant. This might be you, maybe someone you know. If it's not you, I guarantee you that you know someone like this. But the menu comes, it's a fairly extensive menu, and either you or someone you're with is looking at all the options and you're thinking, well, if I get this, then I can't get that. Oh, but wait a minute, there's also this down here. And if I get this, I can't get either one of those. And you tie yourself into this big old knot and you end up taking 5, 10 minutes simply to decide what to order, right? That is the nature of analysis paralysis. And it's basically a problem of too much information and too little clarity. And a lot of times when we're faced with that kind of situation, we get stuck. And I'm talking to you about analysis paralysis because it's one of the things that you cannot allow to stop you in your tracks, especially if you have something big that you know you must do, or it's something that you really, really want to do with all of your soul. Then you must not allow analysis paralysis to stop you from doing it. There are going to be times in your life where being oblivious is the antidote to analysis paralysis. I can look back on a specific time. I remember we had some friends from out of town. Two friends came and we went for a drive. We drove by this temple. A lot of you know that I live in Japan. If you don't, I live in Japan. But we drove by this temple that we drive by often. It's about 10 minutes away from our house by car. But we had never gotten out of the car and visited the temple. So since our friends were in town, my wife and I said, well, let's stop the car and let's go see this temple. I had no idea what I was getting us into. I was totally unaware. I was oblivious. So we get out the car. Everybody is, we're kind of excited because this is a place that we have not visited before. And so we're just curious about, what's there. And so we get to the steps of the temple and, we look up and we look up some more and we look up some more. And do you know those steps look like they never ended? So I turned around to my friends and I looked. I said, okay, well, it looks like we have to climb these steps to get to the temple. Do you want to climb the steps? So they say, well, yeah, let's go see the temple. And so the four of us, we start climbing. 2 minutes go by, 3, 4. Then 5 minutes go by, and we kind of take a little short breather on the steps. And my friends, they are huffing and puffing. They are exhausted. They just feel as though they can't go on. I pick up on this. I say, hey, do you guys want to turn back and just wait for us at the bottom? We'll go up to the top, see what's there, and then we'll come back down to meet you guys. They said, yes. So the friends dropped out. They were like, oh no. And I'm telling you, we looked up the steps and the steps just kept going. I could not see where the steps ended. So I'm like, okay, just chill at the bottom and we'll see you later. It won't take too long. We'll be back. So they went back down and then we kept climbing. Well, we climbed for another 5 minutes. And I looked up and it looked still as though the steps never ended. I mean, we come this far. I say to my wife, let's just keep going. I mean, there's no point in going this far and turning back. Mind you, we're 10 minutes into climbing stairs. So we continue climbing. Another 5 minutes goes by. We look up the stairs still appear to have no end. Again, we're invested. We say, okay, let's keep going. Finally, after about another 5 minutes, we make it to the top. And there's this temple up there. It's called Chomeiji. Chomeiji. And so we make it to the top, we walk around, and we take some photos. Little did I know we had climbed more than 800 stairs. Now think about that. We show up to this temple with our friends, good intentions. We just want to see the temple, have a great experience. We had no idea that it was 800 and something steps involved. And I'm not talking horizontal steps, I'm talking about stairs climbing. But guess what? Me being oblivious was actually what allowed me to do it. Because I don't know if someone had told me before we started that it was going to be 20, 25 minutes of climbing stairs. I don't know that I would say, well, yeah, let's do that now. With no preparation, no planning, no nothing. I don't know that I would have made that decision. I would have thought about it more. I would have said, well, we should have some water and we should do it on this day and, just start making plans, and everything would have been more complicated because I didn't know what I was getting myself into and I just did it. Then I just did it. Much like we would do when we were children. We saw what we wanted to do. We didn't think about whether it was easy. We didn't think about whether it was hard. We just started doing it. When I was young and I didn't know how to read and write Japanese, the only thing that I wanted to do was learn to read and write it. It never occurred to me that it might be easy or difficult. I never thought about that. I just thought I need to learn how to read and write Japanese. And I started studying. I mean, do you know that there are thousands of Japanese characters and you have to learn how to write them one by one? And each one has a couple of different meanings, a couple of different pronunciations. You have to learn them one by one. None of that mattered to me. I just knew that it needed to be done. Let me wrap up by just saying this. If you are paralyzed by information and options and all kinds of risk analysis, and you cannot move forward on doing what needs to be done, on doing what you were put on this earth to do, then take yourself back to when you were a child and be more oblivious. I know it's not easy because as an adult, we understand more and we think about consequences and we want to know what the risks are. But if that's stopping you and literally freezing you in place and preventing you from taking that next step and going to that next level and going after that big idea, that big project, then you've got to snap out of it. And you've got to decide that it doesn't matter how easy it is, it doesn't matter how difficult it is, because you are determined to do it. You're just going to start. I want you to take this with you. I'll talk to you next time.